Alright, what's up YouTube? Today we're gonna try and get all the just ethanol buildup out of the bottom of our tank and actually put the entire gas tank back together. So we got our screws and hardware. I gotta take this apart and get the old sending unit out. We have a new sending unit. So we're going to replace that. We also got our new pickup in the mail today. This one isn't exactly the way I wanted it to be. This is actually supposed to be like circle notched, like a half moon in the bottom, so it can't so it doesn't get stuck at the bottom of the tank and not get fuel. So we're actually going to cut this probably at a 45. So it actually does it, and it does have a screen on the inside. Probably can't really see it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but it does have a screen. We also got our new anti-siphon piece that will screw onto there, and then the whole tube is actually going to thread right into this existing hole, and that will be our new pickup tube, because the existing pickup tube, this is what's left of it. It's from 1993. As far as I know, it is original, and the tube snapped off. This 90 is still good. The anti-siphon piece is completely fused shut from the ethanol buildup, so we'll keep them. We'll probably clean them, keep them as a spare or backup, or maybe a project later on down the road. But we're going to put this all together along with our new sending unit, which I believe is in here. We also picked up our new amp today, which is a JL705 to power our new Fusion. Oops. We also have a Fusion RA70. That's going to go in there, and then our new fuel sending unit. New gasket, new screws. So everything we need for that. We're also going to clean out the bottom of this tank. We're going to time-lapse this and run some M.E.K and a mixture of denatured alcohol, let it sit, flush it around the best we can. Possibly try and get this big brush that I have that I don't really care about. I don't even know where it came from. I think it actually came with the house when we bought the house. And try and shove it in there to get some of the bigger crap off and get the tank as clean as we can to get as much of that scaling crap out of there, just to eliminate carburetor issues later on down the road. So let's get some gloves and get this rolling. So I'm not 100% sure what to expect with leaving this M.E.K picked up from my local Sherwin Williams. I don't really know how long you can leave this sitting in the tank without it possibly eating the polybutane tank. I don't know what it's going to do, so we're going to leave it in there for about 20 minutes, flush it, and then we're going to use a funnel and dump it back into our other tank, which is denatured alcohol, which is about a quarter full. Dump it in here, use this till it's full, and then dump it back in, and just keep continually flushing this out, and then possibly straining it out. I don't know, I think I got a screen around here somewhere that I can strain this to keep it as clean as possible, to get all the debris out of it. So it's been maybe 5 minutes. I dumped roughly half of this in there. This cap was on here so freaking tight, I actually ripped the whole thing off, but I fixed it how it's supposed to be so I can reuse what's in here without it evaporating. Literally the moment I dumped it in there, it just started eating the ethanol buildup in there. Works amazing. I'm constantly moving it around. There is a few areas that are hard to get to, especially around this area, because I can't really get my hand in there, so I'm going to try and use the brush and just brush it off the best I can. And I can see it from the outside where the areas are really bad, so we're going to try and the best we can using this brush, and hopefully it doesn't eat the brush and leave residue inside of it, but we'll see what happens. So I am trying to get the rest of it out. I think the entire time cleaning this tank, maybe 7 minutes. I did hit the few areas with that brush and it definitely worked. However, it did eat the brush. Literally turned it to goo. I don't know if it's really focusing or not, but the brush is literally just nasty goo, which I don't care about this brush. I don't use it. I don't even know where it came from. I was gonna dump it into a denatured alcohol container, but slightly nervous about dumping it in there and mixing chemicals. Nothing may happen, something may happen, I don't know. I'd rather not have a small fire or explosion of some kind. There's a lot of flammable shit in my garage and fireworks and stuff like that, so I'd rather not find out. So we're gonna let it soak a few more areas that I want to hit, and then I'm dumping it into an old corked can of oil can, then dump it back in there, and then I'll dispose of it properly. So yeah, let's try and get the few other areas, and then that's pretty much it. So I don't know how much M.E.K cost, but definitely the way to go if you need to clean the inside of your gas tank. Alright, so we got our existing fuel neck off. You can see what the fuel did to it. Left this nasty orange brown residue all over it. It's so disgusting, I don't even want to touch it. So there's also a little bit on here, so we're going to rub this down with a shop towel and some M.E.K. Clean that shit off because I don't want it in my fuel tank. Clean the top off. I want to say I have a wire brush, a brass brush to go in here, clean up all that excess plumber's tape, get all that off of there, and then this thing's technically ready to be put back together, but we're not going to put it back in the tank till after it dries. Alrighty, so we got our old one taken off. We got a new gasket that was supplied with the new sending unit. So new gasket, clean that all up. I also got two shrink spade connectors, opposite ends, so one for positive, one for negative. We're gonna test these out, put them on there, heat shrink them. We are reusing our existing hardware because I don't know if these are actually stainless. They look like they're stainless, but I know these are the original bolts, and I know they're long. Gaskets are a little rough looking, but I don't really care. And this is our new sending unit, so we're gonna leave the foam on until we install it on the tank so it doesn't get damaged. I got this flushing out right now, sucking out the water while it does its thing. So get all the degreaser out of there and flush it all out. So let's get this all back together now. Alright, so we got our new sending unit in. Reuse the existing hardware with the stainless and rubber washers. They're still in good enough shape. They're a little dry rotted, but I think I'd rather use those than nothing. So that's all in. We got our spade connectors crimped and shrunk. I had to take that off because it wouldn't fit through the hole. We're just going to put this in a safe spot till we put it back in there. I think this is the correct size. This one's a ½ inch longer than mine, the one that was in there. So I had a 10-inch. I went with a 10.5 because I knew if the tank was empty, it said empty, I had enough fuel to get back to the house, but now I'll have a more accurate reading and truly know how much more fuel I have, because this tank is about 12 inches deep. So we got our new pickup tube installed. It's slightly too long. We're going to take about maybe 1/4 inch out of it. I could probably leave it, but we're just gonna, I could probably honestly take some turns out of this and bring it up a little bit. We're gonna take about 1/4 inch out of it, and then if that's not enough, we'll take it out of here on the threads and bring it up a little bit and just double up on the Teflon tape and leave it that way. And we also cut a V-notch in the bottom of it so it can't get stuck on the bottom of the tank, so it'll always let fuel through. But I'm not comfortable with how low it's sitting at the bottom, so we're gonna pull it back out. And then after we get it in the boat back in place, we'll put the sending unit back in place. All right, I took about a 1/4 inch off of here. I cut a 45, and then on the flat side, I cut a 1/2 moon, or as best I could with a razor, to just, God forbid it ever got wedged. At least it will let that through. At least a little bit of suction so it doesn't siphon lock, because that wouldn't be fun. But we should be good here. We're gonna get this reinstalled now. Alrighty, so we went ahead and put the top flange back on just to hold it in place so it doesn't wiggle around. Put 1 screw in each side just to hold it in place, just in case I need to take it back out. I shouldn't. I don't know if you can see that. I cut about 1/4 inch to 3/8 off the bottom of the tube, cut it at a 45, and 1/2 moon bevel, whatever you want to call it, on the other end, just to make sure it doesn't get siphon locked for whatever reason. And we're done. So it looks great, and we're just gonna let it sit in the sun for a few days, maybe, or a day, and get all the condensation out of it, and we'll put the ISO heat in it after we put it back in the tank, or in the boat. Alrighty, so now we're gonna disassemble this so we can change out our fuel pump. Get all these hoses off. I already taken them loose. Gotta break all these other hoses loose so we can get back to here to where the thermostat is. Alrighty, so for those of you that have never taken 351 marine engine apart, you got your larger bolt here on the bottom, which is that lower bolt there. It is a 9/16. Then you have your jacket hole. Don't do what I did and snapped the pigtail off the end, so I gotta go solder that back together. That's gonna be fun. Then you gotta take off the top nut, which is a 11mm with a box wrench. A crow's foot socket would probably work better. I don't have any, and I don't know anybody that's home right now that would, but definitely pretty gross in here. We're gonna scrape and clean this up, paint all the other ends, and then definitely replace this. Definitely stuck. It's just disgusting. Probably dump some vinegar in there, get some of that nastiness out, get some sludge. Just gross. So but yeah, so let's get all this shit scraped off. Alrighty, it's been about an hour. I'll take it back, hour and a half. This is all touched up. I need to fix this bolt here. It's got a little nick on it. It's all looking nice and pretty. It's a little corroded on the inside, but you know what, this thing's pretty old. I really don't feel like replacing it. It's still in good shape. It's not pitting all the way through. It doesn't leak, or at least it didn't leak. And yeah, so the motor rad thermostat that I ordered is for this motor. It is a 160-degree thermostat, which is what this motor is supposed to have. Does not match the one that came out of it. So the actual opening on this end is 10 times the size of the one that came out of it. So I actually found this. This is a 160-degree thermostat by Mr. Gasket. Part number 4363. I found it at my local AutoZone. 25 bucks. Definitely expensive versus $8 on this one. But it is the exact same one that came out of it. And you can see how much bigger the flow is. So I was worried. It's either run this or don't run anything. So yeah, we're gonna run this, see how it runs. If we have to take it back out, we will. But this is literally the exact same thermostat that came out of it versus the PCM or Inmar version, which is like $35, but it does come with a gasket. That's a plus side, but $10 for a gasket, not really worth it. I'm using Permatex Ultra Black. Works just fine for me. I'm gonna smear a bunch on here with my finger, bunch on the motor. It's all nice and cleaned up, and sandwich that thing in there and center down. So we're gonna go and get all this ready and put it back together.